Is the regular council meeting Tuesday, November 16th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. It's live in council chambers, and we also are on Zoom video conference platform.
Please call the roll.
Counselor Austin,
Present.
Counselor Smith,
Present.
Counselor Martin,
Present.
Ms. Gowdy is excused, and Counselor Stevenson is present.
Officer, how are you? Good. I'm going to say the Good afternoon. Counselor, how are you? Counselor.
What's up?
Yes, sir. How are you?
How are you, Honorable Brandon King?
Good. Honorable Nathaniel Martin.
Okay, the next section, remarks of public on agenda items only, 2 minutes per.
Go on. Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I want to congratulate those that were on the ballot that won. But that's not on the agenda, I know, but I'm going to speak to item number 63, agenda item 6321, and I want to thank you for at least including my street on the repaving. I want to thank the mayor and the administration, and I trust that it will, I hope that it will pass this evening on the second reading.
Dr. Patricia Blahoviak, 1894 Farmington. As I look at the details of resolution number 61-21 and the streets included, I'm confused as to what the priorities are. Now, as I've been walking the streets in the past few months, I ran across someone who complained that his street, which is Mayfair, had had huge potholes for 30 years. And when he was on his, so I drove there later, and I noted that the part of Mayfair that was next to the school had been recently fixed and was fine, but the other block was horrible and makes the real problems that you see on, for example, Brewster, look minimal in comparison. So I'm concerned about a certain amount of equity on the choice of streets. Thank you.
On resolution number 6621, Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program District of Ohio Public Works. I would like for someone to I guess the administration to elucidate our council. And I don't understand all of this under request by the mayor, Brandon L. King, sponsored by Tim Austin, co-sponsored by Nathaniel Martin, Ernest Smith, Juanita Gowdy, received from the Law Department 8/4/21, placed in General Service and Administration Committee on 8/4/21 at 9.1621 General Service and Administration Committee meeting. I mean, I just don't understand all of that, because if you're saying that these things went through all of these channels and just now coming back before us, and then it's at a place on 10/5/21 regular council meeting agenda, first reading, review, resolution placed on 11/3/21 regular council meeting agenda, first reading. Moved to be 11/16/31. I just don't, I'm not cognizant of what are all these, for a piece of legislation, going through all these processes or whatever this case is. So I would like somebody to elucidate. And in reference to the water line, and I know we just paid Euclid Avenue, and now we're going to, I guess, tear it up again and place these water lines or whatever, which should have been done prior to. So to me, that's double work, and it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. To double pay, to come back to correct what you have done already. You're gonna tear it up and it just.
What number is that? 60.
Correct, Anderson, 4436 Church Road. 6321 is basically they want to use $680,000 to out of the CDBG block grant funds to resurface streets that are below the hill because they can't use it up the hill because their income is too high. So they want to take 680,000 and do streets below the hill, which is fine. I'm sure a lot of those streets need it. But because up the hill, their income is too high, they want to take almost $500,000 out of the general fund to do one street up the hill, which is Brewster. We got way more streets down the hill that we should be using dollars for instead of Brewster up the hill. I would advise this council to either separate that street out of this and maybe come up with something later to maybe do half of Brewster or something, but $500,000 out of the general fund when we have all these streets down here that could use that $500,000, it's just nasty. And if you go on Brewster, if you look at most of the streets down here, that's like 80% better condition than the streets down here. So please do not pass that 6321 right now. And I know you guys don't want to hold things up for the other streets using the CDBG money that deserve it. So I would just hope that council would at least separate it here at this meeting and just come up with a better solution than to use $500,000 up the hill up there. We need more down here.
Anybody else? Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Shirley Oldham, and I live on Savannah Avenue. The question that I have is, I would just like to know, how did the council or whoever can't come up with what streets were going to be done? Because I've been on Savannah for 50 years, and I think our street over those 50 years has probably been, if it's twice, that it's been done. And I tell people that our street is an obstacle course. You learn maneuverability because if you don't know how to maneuver those chuck holes and those holes in and out, you tear up your car. Okay. So I was just wondering, I was just sitting there, not having enough time really to read all of this, but to wonder, how did you come up with which streets are going to be done? Because I have been asking for years about Savannah, and have been told for years about the cost that it costs to do it. And I understand that because of the pipes and all of that being as old as they are. But I'm sure some of these streets that are listed on here are just, Savannah's just as old as they are, got probably more chuck holes than these streets. Just interested in knowing how you came up with that. Thank you.
Is Director Weeks around? Online anywhere? No. Next on the agenda presentation, we have none at this point in time. Minutes to be approved.
I need to interject that regular council meeting minutes will not be approved at this meeting because they have to be revised.
Okay, we can go to general services and administration, minutes of 6/24/21. Need a motion to
Mr.
approve?
Austin,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for general services administration meeting.
I second the motion.
Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Austin,
Yay.
Counselor Martin,
Yay,
Counselor Stevenson.
I'm voting yay based on the fact that Mr. Austin says these minutes are correct.
The next to be, are we gonna do the special council meeting, Council President? Or you wanna, are those?
Yeah,
gonna be on
hold
hold
them,
till
hold
tomorrow?
those two.
The next is general services and administration, council meeting minutes of 9/16/21. Counselor Austin,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the general service administration meeting.
I second that motion.
Counselor Austin,
Yay.
Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Martin,
Yay,
Council President Stevenson.
Yes.
Personnel and appointments, minutes to be approved of 9/28/21. Counselor Smith,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the 9/28/21 personnel and appointments, meeting minutes, please.
I second that motion.
Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Austin,
Yay.
Counselor Martin,
Yay,
Council President Stevenson.
Yes.
Next, we have reports and announcements of mayor.
Yeah, King.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, East
Good
Cleveland.
evening.
Thank you all for coming out. It's good to see such warm faces on a day when fall is here. Last week this time, I believe we're in the 60s. So, but we're Cleveland people, so we're used to it. We know it's coming. Try to keep this brief. I'd like to congratulate, as many of us here tonight have, I'd like to congratulate all of newly elected officials and all of the officials. Thank all our residents for doing their civic duty, coming out of the meeting and speaking to us as elected officials. Now that the residents have spoken, I'd like to speak to here and to council. I hope for record, but I'll say it again. I hope now that the residents have spoken, now we can get back to doing the work of the people, specifically pass legislation, much of which is before you, legislation that is needed to address quality of life issues of the residents. I urge council to please, let's start passing some of this. I have been talking to a number of contractors, a number of suppliers. New legislation and emergency legislation is what we're talking about. I'm talking to these contractors and suppliers. You may not remember, but we sent down legislation for new streetlights, new street poles. Back May, June. Price on these light poles has gone up $30,000. $30,000. Many of you, I know a lot of our residents are retired, so I don't know how close you're following some of these prices, but certainly you've seen on the news how lead times are long and things are backed up. All of the equipment that we were set to purchase, all of those prices have gone up and the lead times are extended. We are still waiting on Chevy vehicles that we ordered last October. They have not come in yet. The Ford vehicles, Councilman Austin, you in particular, pressing for that second Ford vehicle for the building and housing. Still, we haven't received these things. I don't know if you remember saying, hey, get them another vehicle, right? So I would urge council, look at legislation, new and the emergency legislation. understanding the importance of it and how prices are going up, lead times are increasing. We've got new CAT equipment that's in front of you. We've got the master lease for the 5 vehicles, fire, EMS, the 2 salt trucks, and the street sweeper. Land bank legislation is down in your purview at this point. Our contract with the County Board of Health is back in county's purview. And I know we went through a number of gyrations last year before we finally got that passed. I would urge council to pass that, understanding that it is the state law that we have that insurance. Water main replacement. Many of you have been following us for months, are kind of aware of what happened on Euclid. We didn't pay for the water main to be fixed. We resurfaced in front of Chapman and the water main broke underneath, right? You may have heard me mention this before, working with some of our newly established relationships, most in particular, Governor DeWine, how he helped us secure, when he was here, he helped us secure grant funding to review and then pay for pedestrian crosswalks. There are a number of crosswalks slated to go in next year. Water line replacement is due in 2 of the locations, right? If they get to those locations, I have asked them not to put those in because we don't want to put the crosswalks in and the same thing happens that happened on Chapman and Euclid and the water line bust, and that'll mess all that up. So we want to get the water main replacements fixed before that happens. So there's legislation in your purview to get that enacted and get that done. And I urge you to please vote on that. The pedestrian crosswalk comes to you as an emergency because it came to us as an emergency. However, it is something that we've been talking about for over a year. And of course, street resurfacing, that's coming at you. Many of you have noticed Lee Road is finally finished and opened back up for traffic. As you see other streets being fixed, I'd ask for your continued patience, due diligence as you traverse those streets, understanding that we are rehabbing streets in the entire city. Real quickly, COVID-19, as always, refer to the County Board of Health or the Ohio Center for Disease Controls as to updates on the COVID-19 pandemic. I, as always, encourage you to get vaccinated and encourage those who know and love to get vaccinated. Walgreens in town is doing vaccinations. Last Saturday, we had terrible weather, but we still had a community shred day. Many residents were asking for it. No worries, we will do it again in the spring. And depending on the success rate of that, we may do it again in the summer. So look for that. Many of you come here tonight. I know we have people on the phone as well. You've seen the rehab of City Hall. Patients, rehab is never easy and it always creates a lot of dust. But we are sprucing the place up a little bit for your benefit. ARPA. I announced last time that we were having a celebration of the first awardee at the Salvation Army last Wednesday. It happened, it went great. And since then, we've awarded and finalized a number of other projects in reference to the homeowner grant, the $3,000 grant, which is part of the packet for the ARPA funds. That concludes my presentation, unless there are any questions or concerns, Council President. That's it. Questions, concerns?
Next, receipts of communication petitions, there were none. We move on to reports from council committees.
Mr. Austin?
President, I had more I wanted to make, but I was ready to come get it correct. Come back to you.
Counselor Smith.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The next personnel appointments meeting will be November 23rd at 5:30 p.m. right here in the council chambers. As always, I beg of you to join us. The committee meetings are very, very important, just as important as the regular council meeting. Thank you very much. I hope to see you November 23rd at 5:30 for the personnel and appointment meeting. Thank you, Madam President.
Martin.
Yes, the health and safety, our next meeting is December 14th. I do need to share with you, we've been getting some correspondence a few weeks ago, thanks to my clerks, about training, more training and training through the state. And the money's gonna be provided for some of the training. There's been a lot of issues, and recently we had a young lady who was found dead, and looked like our police have done good work on that. They're on top of that. Miss Pointer, an unfortunate situation. One thing that if we meet on the 14th, we've been very strong about our police getting all the best training they can get. So that's gonna be one of the key issues that's gonna come up. Letting the administration know ahead of time. The training and any training is gonna make our police more wiser, more effective. We encourage that. So that's gonna be a big thing. The other thing that I need to share that we discussed most of the year is because we can't pay our police officers what they're worth, we have a lot of turnover. So we lose, they come here for a few years and then we've been going on for almost the 30 years I've been up here. So hopefully we can change that by in the next few years, increasing our tax base. So those are the major issues. There was something else I saw in the paper about police. And policing is a big issue. I've been tuning in also to the consent decree that Cleveland's going through. And there's some pretty good suggestions in that. They also passed what was called issue 24, where put together a police commission. And that's something we may be discussing. We definitely need to have a conversation about it. So I'm looking into that and doing some research. So for the record, we're scheduled for the 14th. If I get the information that I need so we can be effective. Also, the last thing I need to say, we spent a matter of months on getting the best equipment for our police department, and it's called body cams, recommended by the NAACP. Some of our police have been trained on that, and we've been told it's the best equipment out there. They can't take it off, and some of the things that some police departments been experiencing.
Can they turn it off?
They can't turn it off, not when it's on. It automatically activated. And I'm going to make sure at the next meeting that we can, we'll have the police chief here with the mayor's cooperation, and he can explain to you how good this equipment is. So that concludes health and safety, and I wish everybody a happy holidays. Thank you.
Mr. Austin.
Yes, thank you very much for your patience. We're gonna have a person from the Cuyahoga County Physical Office, the Treasury Department come to speak with us.
I can't hear you.
We're gonna have a presentation at the next General Service Administration meeting. We've been trying to get her here, but the update to the council chambers have prevented her from actually coming. Her name is Mrs. Martin. She's gonna present some information to us as a community to help us understand our finances better and how our finances interact at the county level. So more to follow, and hopefully it's, gratifying and edifying for all of us. So the next General Service Administration meeting, please come out. The more opportunity we have to receive information from presenters that work in those areas that want to come to our city and assist us, I believe it will be beneficial for all. General Service Administration Committee has recently been talking about the water line replacement. We've had our engineer actually present some documents to us saying where the water line replacements are necessary and the condition of the roads as she sees. That means that there is a priority list to answer someone's question, talk about how we got to the priorities of road conditions. So we asked her, or I asked her a few months ago to provide a list of roads based on priority of which ones are most passable. Based on what we have available to us, we'll resurface those roads based on the most passable to, correction, least passable to most passable being the lower priority. And the estimated cost as of a couple of years ago to resurface all the roads in this thing was $50 million. So to have that $2 figure, I'm sure it's much more costly to do so today because the cost of every commodity has went up over time. The labor, I learned this past year that based on the time of the year where you have the resurfacing take place, the costs increases. There are some major increases coming this way. So more to follow, and I would like to have our engineer, Keisha Chambers, come back before us. Maybe we'll get her out here on Thursday for general service and kind of talk a little bit more about the graphs and the information she presented, which is basically a map overlay, talking in color code with a legend on it saying these are the streets that are in worse condition. So while there may be an opportunity to do so, we'll kind of program those things out and be patient with us as a body until we get to a place where we can actually resurface the city. Thank you very much. That's all I have for general service.
Finance Committee met on November 4th. And we reviewed the requirements and what can the community want to be done with the ARPA funds. We're in the process of compiling that data, and that information will be regurgitated back out to the community so that it can be prioritized to see what best fits the needs of this community. We don't have another meeting scheduled for next month at this time. And I think that concludes my report.
Right, there are no proclamations. Going into legislation. Resolution number 6021. A resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program, District 1, Ohio Public Works Integrating Committee, and/or local transportation improvement program funding opportunities for the repair and restoration of East Cleveland roadways, water lines, sanitary sewer lines, and/or storm lines by the Ohio Public Works Commission and/or local transportation improvement program in order to secure the funds requested per the policy manual and schedule as will be prepared by the municipal representative Keisha Chambers of OHM Advisors. This is on for a second reading. This is sponsored by Councilor Timothy Austin.
Councilor Austin, your name is sponsoring this resolution. How you want to proceed?
I would like to sponsor resolution number 60-21 and move for its adoption.
I second the motion.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to have some discussion. This is critical legislation. As we discussed, the priority, putting the cart before the horse, having certain areas of our city having been resurfaced already. The unfortunate part is we don't know when the opportunity to have these kind of grants may avail themselves to us. So since this is the time, and the grant also contains the ability to fix our roadways. So they tear them up, they're willing to put those areas back into functional operation for our residents. So this is a win-win for our city, and definitely something that's well overdue. Water lines, sewer lines, as well as storm lines. And this is opportunity for those areas that have not been separated to actually be separated and, kind of get into this millennium. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity. That's all right, thank you.
Any other discussion? I don't know what you all have, but we have this on the agenda to be passed, and what I have is a blank application behind it. I don't know how I can pass something that has a blank application. Where's the information? This thing is blank. There's bid information here, but this application is blank. Tells us nothing. And Like that,
It's my understanding, this is just a request to apply.
this may be the request, but we are about to pass it, and we need to know what we're passing, and I don't know what I'm passing if I got a blank document in front of me.
Just the application, to start the application process where we're allowing the mayor and our engineer to represent. We are paying her to represent us to make great decisions. And it's been a benefit to us. She's actually sought the grant and the additional revenues to make us better on her own, not because we forced her or.
That's
we
fine, but
want
where's
her
the
back in.
doc?
We want her to give her the opportunity to fill that out, and before we actually accept the dollars, once they're approved, if we get approved, this is just, can we do this? So once the application is submitted, well, Mayor King, if you could be so kind. She's done the due diligence to show us by mapping what the necessities are. And if you'd be so kind as to, once the application is complete, not a matter of affecting the passing of this particular legislation, just so that we know we're asking for 50 million. We know the 50 million will resurface every street in our city, but I don't know if we're there yet. But whatever that dollar figure is, based on the overall assessment and urgency and need, we would like to have that presented by our engineer, if that's possible.
That needs to be presented to me before I pass it, because I don't even, there's no dollar amount attached to this. This could be for $100 million,
As
we
he
don't
said,
know.
I respect that.
And to do it, I mean, we should have something, these are all blank documents. We should have something,
I agree to having
there's a
something.
budget in here, it could have been filled out, we don't have anything.
I don't know if you recall, there was a meeting where she actually was present and discussed some of the issues, and I asked her for more information. More information was show us the water lines that are necessary first, the roads that are necessary. She was able to provide us that level of detail. And some of this is, how can I say, subject to being finalized. And the dollars have increased 20% per month, so for just the light folks. So more to follow. And I understand your concern, and I support you, man.
Mr.
That's why I'm
Austin,
turning it to the mayor and say, provide us the information.
Mr. Austin, I got these maps right here. And after I reviewed some of the maps, there was missing information.
I saw your street.
That we had to go back and forth to get the little bit of information that was missing. There's streets missing on some of these maps. There's no amount of money here.
May I be recognized?
Who is I?
William as our director. At this point of order, may I be recognized?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, at this time, I think that in terms of form, it's appropriate to call for the question. It can be voted up or down.
We know that.
How much
Oh,
money,
yeah.
Mayor King, how much money is involved with this grant application is the bottom line, I think.
Council President, I would defer that question to Councilman Martin. In regards to Councilman Martin's longevity on council, Councilman Martin will tell you, and he'll tell all of us, it comes to council, because I was on council, in this form. We allow the consultants to put in the grant application. Then if and when it's awarded, it comes back for acceptance. So it can only come to you as a blank document right now. You're allowing her or this company to submit the application. Councilman Martin, can you?
You articulated how the process has gone over years. But I can't take away the statements in question if she wants more documentation. I will say this, you did say something very important at the beginning of the meeting, and that is that everything is going up. And we don't need to be delaying. I think philosophically, we're all in favor of getting this done. My thing is, I'm going to vote for it because I don't want to delay it. And in the process, because it's not a perfect situation, we'll get that information. I'm reaching out to you, Brandon King, to get the information that, not just for her, but for all council. I'm not gonna delay, we haven't been meeting a lot, and I don't wanna defer. When I read the paper, and I read it a lot, everything is being delayed, everything is going up, and we need to be cognizant of that, period. Now, if you want perfection in this, you'll never get it. You're not gonna get perfection in this government kind of stuff. It's not the most perfect process, but we got streets that need to be paved. I have issues and I try to use restraint. Chapman broke, 5-6 months ago. I wonder why it's taking so long to finish it. It's almost there. And now I just shake my head. I say, is it East Cleveland? Do they do the other municipalities or whatever the case may be? So I feel Ms. Stevenson's question, but I'm willing to wait and counting on you to get the information once that she's requesting, not only for her, but the entire council. So I'm gonna vote for this. That's where I'm at. Okay.
I don't think it's a matter of how I'm gonna vote, but we've had this situation here
It's been a
since
while.
August. And so from August until now, we should have a completed application, we should have at least a dollar amount, something. So that's my concern with signing off on a blank document. It's a blank check here. There's no money or anything else. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. If I remember correctly, I don't know if you were present at the last meeting, Keisha Chambers was here. It's not a, and please, somebody stop me if I'm wrong. It's not a dollar amount that's set yet. This is to authorize the mayor to go out and try to get a bid and try to get a dollar amount. This is what our esteemed former colleague, former Councilman O'May is always talking about, authorizing the mayor. So this is just to authorize him to work with Sister Keisha Chambers to go out and get us some funding. So there is no dollar amount yet. And by the way, they haven't fixed the water lines yet because council haven't passed that piece of legislation. Thank you.
Yes, goddamn.
Yes, council does have legislation for water
So,
lines.
well, at any rate, the mayor, I mean, in 4 months, you can't tell me how much money is involved. Come on. So let's move on.
Well, let's move it. Madam President, what we gonna do here? Call for the vote.
Okay, Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Austin,
Yay!
Counselor Martin,
Yay!
Council President Stevenson.
Yay, but please don't bring no more blank documents in here.
It passes by 4.
That's good.
All right, this is the next one.
Resolution number 6121, a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the bid of and contract with Roniak Paving, 14376 North Chestnut Street, Burton, Ohio, 44021, for the FY 2020 street improvement project funded by CDBG, including DONE, in the amount of $109,995, and Hillsborough in the amount of $23,850, requested by Community Development, sponsored by Councilor Timothy Austin. It's the second read.
Councilor Austin, this legislation bears your name. What's your pleasure?
I would like to sponsor resolution number 61-21 and move for its adoption.
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
No.
All roll.
Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Austin,
Yay!
Counselor Martin,
Yay!
Council President Stevenson.
Yay.
Passed by 4 votes. Moving on, resolution number 6321. A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the bid of and contract with Bondra Brothers, 24629 Broadway Avenue, Bedford, Ohio, 44146, for the fiscal year 2021 street improvement project, including resurfacing of Brewster for $483,300 out of general funds, and Terrace Road, 3rd Avenue, Delmont Avenue, Page Avenue, and Forest Hill Avenue for $680,900 out of CDBG funds, for a total expenditure of $1,164,200, requested by the Community Development Department. This was sponsored by Councilor Juanita Gowdy, co-sponsored by Councilors at Large Nathaniel Martin and Timothy Austin.
Councilor Martin, in
Aye.
in the absence of Councilor Gowdy, this legislation bears your name. What is your pleasure?
Madam President, I sponsor resolution 6321 and move for its adoption. Second.
Madam Clerk, I'd like to co-sponsor this piece of legislation, please.
Okay,
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam. Piece of legislation that actually passed a few weeks ago, but because, of a rule that said that, council wasn't supposed to vote or be on Zoom anymore, we decided not to argue and bring this back for the benefit of the people. It passed last time as an emergency, 4 votes. I'm hoping it'll pass tonight with no controversy, no back and forth, no anything. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, Counselor Smith, and it seems to me that last time this was on the agenda, all of this was general fund money. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, that's very incorrect,
Can I share some facts, please?
very incorrect.
Can you tell me how it was on there? Was it all general fund or was it all CDBG? What was going on?
Okay, this was a combination of years because we failed to pass the street improvement dollars for 2020. So these funds were a combination of 2020 and 2021 dollars. And the funds that we've been getting recently have allowed us to do more with the general fund dollars to make the city whole. And there was some discussion about a historical portion of our city where people would like to come and visit. There's a holiday coming up, Christmas. And this area where I've been doing a little bit more research, if you will allow me. There is an area of our city that is historically preserved, and there is a lot of folks that come from all around the country, take a look at certain parts of our city. So instead of taking the opportunity to respectfully try to diminish that part of our city, let's do more to edify and build up those sections of our city that bring people to our city that may want to actually live here at some point, because we do have to increase the population of the great city of East Cleveland in order for us to get on to the next level of training, or the next level of development, benefit, growth, making it so that our children thrive. And so this was a combination of 2 years. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other discussion?
okay, call for the vote. Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Austin,
Yay.
Counselor Martin,
Yay.
Council President Stevenson.
Yes.
Passed by 4 votes. Next is remarks and requests of the public. I'd like to go to the ones that are logged on to Zoom first.
Hit your door.
Anybody logged on with Zoom that would like to ask a question or remarks of the public on any item? Seeing none, we'll open it to the public in the
Any remarks
better
from the
here
public?
person.
Dr. Patricia Bohoviac,
Can you
1894.
take your mask off?
No,
No, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Maybe, Patricia, you can project your voice a little more.
There are too many people in the room who are not wearing masks. And therefore I will not remove my mask. So,
Could you speak up louder then?
I will try to speak up. Going back to the issue of the streets. When I drive down Euclid, the places in front of all of the bus stops are all have not been completed. And as people are aware, if water gets in there and it freezes, it expands. And therefore, as the water freezes and thaws over the course of the winter, those areas will get worse. And I know that there are methods to fill in cracks. And I don't understand why those weren't completed when when Euclid Avenue was paved. And I request that it be put on the agenda, that it be worked on, that Euclid Avenue, where it's not being dug up for reasons of water or whatever, that it be completed. It should have been completed over a year ago. And I'm concerned about that. It's only going to get worse. Thank you.
Tammy Wheeler, Northfield Avenue. Good evening, everyone. I'm very glad to see that everybody's on the same page for is voting to have the streets and everything resurfaced and sewers repaired and all that's been needed for a long time. I know, Ms. Stevenson, you were concerned about the dollar amount, but you know, based on the way this city been for many years, nobody really cares about that. We need to get it done. Because a lot of us that are homeowners are really concerned about that. Because we're paying mint and sewer and storm water charges and all that. So I'm glad that you all agreed on that and finally got that done. Mayor King, about the $3,000 grant. I'm kind of concerned about these contractors that you guys have, and to the extreme where they're saying if you can't if it's over $3,000, then it falls back on the homeowners. That's a concern of mine because I think some of them are overcharging for some things that really needs to be done. But I don't know what's going to happen because if you like they came and they looked at our porch and they said about $5,600. There's only one part of the porch that needs to be done. That's quite a bit. That kind of concerns me. I mean, it's great that they do have the $3,000 grant because as you guys said to us, you can use it for other things, which is good. But that concerns me. And I think maybe you all need to kind of talk to some of your contractors that are on that list, because a lot of them don't return your calls, they don't respond. So that's an issue too. But anyway, I'm glad to see they do have some kind of grant to help the people out, because a lot of these houses are in really bad shape. I ride around the city and some of the porches and things are just dilapidated, it's falling apart. Hopefully in the future, there'll be more grants for more money where some of the homeowners could get some more things done to their house. And one more thing too, I'm really disgusted about the crime in the city and about all of these different things going on. I wonder where the police, there's no one basically patrolling the streets at night and, checking the inner streets. And it would be great if you could get maybe a grant through the government or maybe through the state, ask for some funds to get a grant writer, to get some grants in here where you all can maybe hire some more police and hire some patrol officers just to patrol some of the inner streets at night, because that's when a lot of crime goes on. So I'm just hoping that things will be better for the year 2022 coming in, because it's been a really bad year for East Cleveland with the crime and the dilapidated houses that needs to come down. And I'm just hoping that everybody will work together, and I want to see better things come into the next year. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Latif Shabazz. I stay at 14517 Strathmore. I know that I looked at the paper, I've seen that the streets you're gonna pave is because you're getting votes on these streets. But your main street is to get money into this city is Strathmore. Strathmore connects Euclid to Hayden. I'm surprised that Silverman hasn't complained about these streets that goes to his business, because a lot of people don't like to go to the dollar store, and his prices are much more cheaper. So I'm suggesting that you should do Strathmore. Strathmore got a lot of lots on it, and when you sell these lots, investors would come on Strathmore because it's a money street. It goes from Euclid to Hayden. All these other streets, they don't go all the way through. So your through streets you should do first. That brings the property value up, and it brings people to the city. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I didn't agree with y'all agreeing to spend $500,000 out of the general fund to pay Brewster up the hill. I don't care about it being historical. It's passable, and it's very well passable compared to a lot of the streets that's down here. And you know, you probably should have broke that money up. Savannah, he just said Strathmore. Instead of doing that whole Brewster, I'm not saying that they need to be abandoned up there because they have been for a while, but we don't need to overly abuse the money. Then that's what I consider that is, spending $500,000 out of the general fund because their income is so high that they don't qualify for government funding. And now we neglect Savannah and Strathmore, and we could have used some of that $500,000 to resurface some of those streets. And I know you don't, that some of y'all don't want to hold it up, but this is like, this isn't money you just play with, and that's what it seems like it's being done. So, yeah.
Does that conclude our remarks?
Mayor said, you know, Mayor said something to say, come on.
I'm waiting on her.
No, you go first.
No, I yield to you.
Flip a coin.
Are we done?
Are you ready?
Mayor and council president and the council. I want to thank you for finally removing that eyesore of a telephone pole on the corner of Third Avenue that's been there for the last 50 years at least, 50 years at least. And I hope that before the weather gets bad, that we'll have an opportunity to pave the streets that you have on the list this year. I would hate to have some of them wait till next year again, like I'm waiting for the award that I got in 2019 for the paint program. And now I don't qualify for anything, but I still haven't got the paint. So I'm kind of puzzled about that, Mayor. You know, if I had received the paint, if the house had been painted, then I could see where I wouldn't qualify. But my house have not been painted. I qualified in 2019. And so they kept giving me the runaround about I had to do extra repairs. I had the check ready. They never came back to tell me I chose the paint and everything, and nothing happened. So I just don't want to continue to complain about that. But I know there's a lot of issues going on in the city, and mine is just one of them. But again, congratulations to all of you that won your position that you was vying for. And I, like the mayor, I hope that the council can come together and get on a page where they can really get something done for the community. Thank you.
Yes.
I will echo on the last part. I hope that there will be cohesiveness between the council and administration. You have to work together in order to accomplish anything. But I'm not telling you to work for something you don't feel that is right. And I'm looking at this legislation that you just passed, and it's kind of discombobulated, to say the least. You're telling you doing one thing, and then you directing it says a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the bid. What bid? And contract with Run Yates or whatever it is, paving 14376 North what is it? Just or whatever it was. I never seen legislation so discombobulated as this. You're authorizing him to do what? To accept the bids? Then you authorize him to, it's mind-boggling. Because anyone that come in here, what is he supposed to be doing? Accepting the bids from what? And then you say a contract with this company paving these particular streets. It doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense at all. And I don't know who writes the legislation, but somebody needs to teach them how to write legislation, because this is sad. And secondly, I want to say this. If you're gonna follow the norms, let's follow them completely. The charter says we have 3 minutes and you have 5 minutes to speak, not 10, not 15 or 20. 5 minutes. You have allowed to speak. And Madam Chairman, you are over this meeting, and you have to adhere, see that every council adhere to those norms.
Y'all hear
And they even, it goes with the mayor as well. Those are the norms. So anyway, I just hope from this point forward that whomever is doing the legislation somebody need to teach them how to write legislation, because this is totally discombobulated. And I will agree that Brewster does not qualify and going into the general funds to use streets. There are streets in this city, and I would include one. Rockford is like a war zone, like it has been blown up. And it never was complete. After they dug up or whatever, they just threw some concrete or whatever there. They never paved over it, not. And it's just like it's been blown up at the end of Rockford there, coming in to Starlight parking lot there. So it is terrible. And there are tires that I guess they're taken out of the building, the empty buildings, and they are all piled up like this. And I understand it's been on the news media have been through there, and they saw it as well. So they just left them out there, it's a pile of tires. They took them out of the building and stuff, they piled up like this. So ride through, you'll see them. A great Charles can see them. That's just that tall, and that many there.
time it may.
I want you to holler time. And the rest of it.
Okay.
Wait a minute, one more question.
Oh,
My name is Paul Clinton Davis. I live at 13855 Superior. I'm like that football player. I'm back. I just want to know, don't you supposed to have out there in the field inspectors or engineers to come to make a report at council meetings and let you know what is messed up, what is screwed up, and report to y'all? I haven't heard an inspector at a meeting making a report, or the inspector being here, where you can say, well, the engineer here or inspector come up and tell you what's going on. Who tells y'all what's going on out there? Inspectors. They're supposed to make a report. I know some companies, business, been waiting on inspector to come to open up their business, and they don't come. I know some places, but I can't name them, they went on to open their business up without coming to y'all, telling y'all that the foundation, what needed to be repaired, that they finished it, and then they're supposed to come back and let y'all know so y'all can grant them to open it. And it ain't going, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember, I've been here 60-some years, and that's what they used to do. And I've been sitting, where's the inspectors, engineers making a report, come to y'all, let y'all know what's going on out there. Most of the people come here, they tell y'all what's going on. I know some of y'all do know, but there's some things you don't know. It don't be for the people. But you supposed, that's what engineers are for, are inspectors. I'm done. Thank you.
Are we done? Okay, come on. Question. Shirley Odom, yeah, that's that. I was Dr., and I never can pronounce your name right, so I'm not gonna mess it up. She was talking about the where the buses come. And I don't know, is it something that I heard in a meeting that those, they call them the platforms, I think is what they call, where the buses stop. Somewhere along the way, I heard that those things were under RTA. It was not a part of the street paving that was done. RTA is responsible for those. So when the street got done, then RTA should have come in, my thinking, and took care of that, because they are bad. And when you ride over them, you tear up your car, whether you know your tires anyway, whether you know it or not. So that is something, in case you didn't know, that should be addressed to RTA.
The issue is that it needs to be addressed.
Exactly. I understand what you were saying.
Whoever is responsible
Yes.
needs to be responsible.
The other thing that I was wondering about, when these streets are going to be done, paved, I mean, I'm saying paved, does that mean I guess it would be the infrastructure, the pipes and everything under there? Are they gonna be taken care of before they're paved? Because from what I've understood with Savannah over all of these almost years, that I've been told that because the pipes and things that are under there are so old that it makes no sense to pave the street and then the pipes burst. So is that what's going to happen when these other ones get done? Just gonna pave and not do anything underneath the ground? Thank you.
I can answer that pretty quickly. We have a map and they have gone out. I know they've been on our street. We had a leak that was leaking for 30 years. And so they've been out and they've repaired a lot of the streets, and in the mapping system, you'll see they color coded them so that it's based on severity. So that is going on before, in a lot of instances, before the streets are paved. Thank you. Councilor Austin?
Thank you. I'm
Mayor.
so happy.
The mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor King.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start off with the closing and just wish everyone a season's greetings. Realize we will not see each other before Thanksgiving. Thank you all for coming out. Thank everyone who's on the Zoom for attending this meeting. I'd like to echo something that I know residents have echoed, and that is to thank City Council for passing much needed legislation. And I look forward to rebuilding this city together, to working together to address the quality of life of our residents here in the city. To go over a number of things that were stated here tonight, I would encourage all of you to attend the meeting tomorrow at the Salvation Army at 10 a.m. regarding the homeowners grant. For those of you who can't attend, there's a video online, and let me encourage you, please get 1, 2, 3 estimates, if you will, on the work that you desire to have done. You do not need to use city preferred contractors. Only thing we're requiring is that any contractor you do use has to come into the city, register, pull a permit, which we're waiting to see, but you must pull it, right? So that work can be done. And yes, we are aware of that. I will state that we set up a meeting with a number of our preferred contractors. A number of residents have called, said that they may have talked to someone and then, they couldn't reach them again. So they're swamped. Just talking to a couple of them, they are swamped. We're gonna try to bring them in to kind of, calm them down and comfort them a little bit. And I asked for your patience. I'm gonna ask them for some patience as they deal with this. This never been done. It's our first time doing it, so they're gonna have some hiccups and some challenges. So bear with us as we execute this for you.
What time is this meeting?
11 o'clock tomorrow at the Salvation Army. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock tomorrow at the Salvation Army. One other thing of note on that, we did, I want to say in the last couple of days, submit the grant for Shot Spotter. And Shot Spotter, we've been talking about this about 2 years now. There was a company, consulting company that came in 2 years ago. I can't remember whose meeting it was, but they talked about how this technology triangulates bullet shots. And it lets them know where it's coming from. I want to say there is, I want to say University Circle has it. But anyway, we finished the grant because of the money that the governor set aside for that. Hopefully we get awarded. Let's see. I also encourage you, as Councilman Austin said earlier, he's going to have the director, Melran, reach out at his next meeting to go over how street resurfacing is chosen and how that formula is weighed in. And it asks you for your patience and continued understanding of street resurfacing. Now, I'm looking at my notes and I'm smiling because my notes say to remind you of when we did streetlights when I first took office, right? And I had residents literally chasing. We should go, we haven't had streetlights. I said, well, someone has to go first, right?
Streetlights.
And now we don't have the, I don't want to say we don't have any complaints, but we don't have the complaints we had before. Remember, we went one light, everybody used one light, and everybody used two lights, three lights, and the whole city's lit up, right? We're still working on that. So patience and understanding as we will get to your streets as our monies allow. I believe that is it. We are aware of the bus pads and we have reached out to Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority to coordinate that. There are a number of those pads that are done. And just as a side note, the Department of Transportation is where the funds came from for the US Highway, which is Route 20, all the way to New York.
Exactly.
We started that in 2017. We did a very good job, thanks to council, in giving us Keisha Chambers and coordinating the sewer, the county, and Cleveland Water. Most of you remember, we did from Eddie Road back first. Remember they had in between the shopping centers tore up for about 6 months as the sewer district came in and did work, Cleveland Water came in and did work, and the county and Keisha through OHM coordinates that, right? So a lot of times there's a method to her madness when she brings some of this grant monies forward, right? I know she's been really chasing down funding for Emily over the last 2 years. That grant was denied. She's going to reapply it. And if we're successful, I believe it goes water, sewer, stormwater, then resurfacing. President, that concludes my report unless there's any questions or concerns of me. Again, thank you all for coming out.
Councilor Ross.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I want to start out by saying happy, wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving. I didn't hear about the turkey giveaway this year. I guess we'll none.
Tomorrow.
So I would like to introduce a potential giveaway for coach for our young folks, 5 to 18. One of the, I don't want to say the last things I do is I walk off the field, having given all that I am. to all those that I care about. So Lakeside Baptist Church is where the coat drive is being held. It's gonna take place on the 18th of December from 12 o'clock PM to 4 PM. And it's on a first come basis. There is a point of contact, Ms. Peters, and I don't have her phone number with me today. However, the next meeting will continue to discuss this up until the actual issue date. You are welcome to participate. We are only accepting brand new clothing for issue to our children and brand new hoodies. The hoodie is something that most of the high school children, they discuss, well, I would rather have a hoodie, a very nice hoodie. So we're gonna have the coats for the younger population and some hoodies available to the high school youth, if you will. So that is very important to me. So if you can participate, please let myself and or Ms. Peterson, the young lady that ran for council at large. So more to follow, and the Lakeside Baptist Church is the headquarters for the coat drive or the warm clothes for young people drive, where we're gonna title it, if you will. The General Services Administration Committee has been frequented by Ms. Chambers because I would like to make sure that we are on top of the things that are infrastructure related. All of the utilities also flow through General Services Administration Committee. That's a critical point for our community going forward, because if we set the infrastructure, we can build and build and build appropriately with the resources to control that capacity and give it to us, through good health, patients, and passable roads. Strathmore is a good place to, I guess, traverse from one side of our city to another. I support that. Rose's Department Store is the place over there where there is some opportunity for them to continue to make their space better. I went over and talked to them multiple times about cleaning their parking lot. A lot of things that you want to do kind of have to start at home. So we as a community have to let it be known that that's not our standard.
Right.
And that's for any business in the city. If it's not meeting our standard, we have to voice those concerns. If they're not compliant, let's go back to the police and have those guys go speak on our behalf. That kind of keeps you out of the additional turmoil. Overlay for our police and our infrastructure. Mayor King, if you can provide a copy that we have in a format that the residents can actually partake in, and they'll know that where they are on that priority, that their street may not be as bad as some other streets in the city. Grants for coronavirus funding. Somebody talked about the grants, the dollars that are being used from the general fund. I don't know if you know that the way the general fund, the administration is able to free up some of the dollars from the general fund by using coronavirus dollars to pay our police, fire, and those positions that were critical to the overall survival that were affected by the coronavirus. And that's why we are able to do some more things out of general fund, not because we're just trying to squeeze the state. No, we're trying to make sure we exercise the fund so they best benefit the residents. As we continue, I do appreciate the fact that the RTA contributes to those pads. Those pads are a separate issue. Thank you for acknowledging that. That's great. It's a good thing that when the governor came with the director of transportation on his side, which he should, I learned a lot. And I actually asked those guys when they talked about dollars for safe routes to school and other funding that would be available, I asked them, do these crosswalks right now? Well, thank you very much, and I do appreciate it.
Counselor Smith?
Thank you, Madam President. To my colleagues, Mr. Mayor, our great clerk, thank you. Most importantly, to the great people of East Cleveland, yes, I am rising to speak today. I'm very excited, humbled, honored, happy to see you all back where you all supposed to be, need to be, you all care enough to be. I want to thank every one of you and everyone who adapted to the Zoom platform for the past 2 years now. We found a way to keep getting the information out, and now we are back in person. And some of you know how excited I am. I don't think you already know just how excited I am, because you all makes the difference. The power is in the people. Now, let me look you in your eye and tell you something. We have legislation to fix the infrastructure.
you don't have to listen to me. I know some people don't listen to the elected officials. Ask some of your neighbors that's right here. Ask them why that infrastructure is not fixed yet. Now, I want to give prayers to Miss Stanberry, the Ison family. Rest in peace to London kid, the 14-year-old kid that got murdered 2 weeks ago. And a special prayers to the Alicia Pointer and the family of the Pointer family who was viciously found murdered on Savannah. I want to say it was a great memorial for Miss Terry. So I want to thank everyone who was a part of that. I want to thank our clerk for doing a great job typing out, you know, it's a whole, she's by herself. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Tracy. Yes, she's by herself. No disrespect to anyone, but everyone in this room would kill us if we resurface Rockford because no one lives on that part of Rockford. So why spend money on that part of Rockford where no one lives at before we spend money where people reside at? We have to stop being so selfish.
No, we have to.
Excuse me, I'm not talking to you. We have to stop being so selfish as a people.
It's not free.
All right, if no one lives on that street, why would we spend the little bit of funding that we have to resurface that street when we can use that to resurface a street that has residents on it?
Just makes sense.
So again, I want to close by saying thank you. I was gonna say a few other things, but it was already said. I don't have to beat a dead horse. I do have to. I do want to come put some things on it. Talk to you about some things about the Mildred Brewer building and the Forest Terrace building. So I promised them I would ask you for a meeting on the record, which I already knew would be no problem. So I put that on the record. And again, thank you all, including.
Mr. Martin.
I rise to speak. I want to thank you guys for coming out and sticking with us over the years. I want to thank the mayor because I think he truly cares about the city. When I ride down Euclid, Belinda Kyle, I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. It's so much better. When I come in this facility, I'm pleased because it looks a whole lot better. Okay? So we're making progress. I looked at the table. We're gonna have like a youth state table. It's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna look real good. What I'm looking forward to in 2022, and I'll be speaking about this before we get there, is that we do work together with a new council. And there's so much that we need to get done. What we have is land and location. And the people in University Circle love to suck it up and run you out of here and gentrify it. But we've been hanging in there. On January 3rd, we're going to be sworn in. It's a collaborative effort between the council, this body, and the mayor. We can't do it here. And I'm reaching out to you. We need a bigger facility. Our clerk looked at McGregor. They can't do it this year. So we need, I'm asking you to help us to get a place where we can get at least 100 people and we can give them refreshments like we've done all these years. So I'm reaching out to you, Brandon King, to see if we can get maybe Salvation Army or a place where the people will feel good. They can have refreshments and then we'll be sworn in, you'll be sworn in, and the rest of the council will be sworn in to do the work for 2022. Thank you for tolerating us. It's a struggle. I'm looking forward to working with the administration. We don't always agree. It's not a perfect world, but we're going to get there. I think my vision and what I'm feeling, people, is that 2022 is going to be dynamic. I think it's going to be dynamic. I'm going to play my role. You play your role. I've spoken. Thank you.
I guess I'm gonna have to be the controversial person. No, I have a list of things that the road resurfacing, I'll start with that. when I first came on the council, there was a list for road resurfacing that was supposedly prioritized by whose road was put on the list at a certain time. Somewhere along the way, that seems over the past 2 years to have dissipated, and streets are being put on the list, nobody knows, streets are being taken off, nobody knows. We just, when they come up, they're just on the agenda. The light poles, these light poles that we've been buying, I noticed that we put up light poles like over there by the park, and the wind comes and blow them down. They don't be up very long. So I'm concerned about the quality of these light poles. I received these documents from Building and Housing, Mayor King, and some of these documents have your name on them, and some of these documents have Gary Norton's name on them. These documents with Gary Norton's name on them aren't any good. So we need to take care of that. Council, you are now in possession. We are embarking upon budget hearings. You are in possession of the document that we used last year. If you want to see modifications to that document, now's the time to submit those modifications for review, to be placed on this document. The council is planning to hold budget hearings one day. One day on a Friday. December 3rd.
December 3rd. We have that.
December
and
3rd
December
and
10th.
half-hour increments. So this document is going to be very key, that you have everything on here that you want to know, so that those meetings are efficient and effective. And we can move on. And that's all I have. Some of this stuff, I think we just need to take a little more time, spend a little more time before we send it out, so that it's correct when it goes out. With that being said,
Madam President, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Well, she wasn't finished.
I thought you were finished.
he don't let me talk. He don't even
No,
talk.
I thought you said you were through.
With that, can I
Yes.
say?
Go ahead.
With that being said, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move that the meeting be adjourned. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
The time is 7:54.
Thanks everyone for coming out this evening. Thank you.
And those